Hello, Missladypetal here. Today I'm so excited. I received my peerless watercolours in the mail. So here's my peerless watercolours. I'm not going to do a review on them. If you want to see a review, all you have to do is have a look at Google and YouTube and you'll find heaps of people that have done reviews on peerless watercolours. I bought the basic set and then the bonus pack of 40 colours. And I bought them straight from Peerless. I found that they were exceptionally good value that way, and the cards are 6 inches by 2 inches. So there's a lot of value in those packets. Okay, so I've said to a few people I'm going to do a little travel palette. So all I have gotten is some recycled cardboard. I had a whole big long piece of cardboard from a great big photographic envelope pocket that I got from some large photos. So I've covered it in a laser printed copy of one of my very large painted papers, drop papers from when I get rid of paint while I'm painting my paintings or doing jelly printing or doing any kind of project where I have leftover paint. So I don't waste any paint, but I liked this particular design so much. I'll just zoom out. I liked this particular design so much that I actually went and had it scanned because it was A3 size. So I actually went and had it scanned, and then I now have some high-res, low-res images of it, and I also have a couple of prints of it, which they pretty much threw in at no extra cost. So I was really excited about that. But enough of that. On the inside, I've just lined it with some current painted papers. These are actually original painted papers. I haven't even scanned them in. There's a lot of orange in them and just really basic designs that I haven't doodled, but I love the colours so much that I just used it straight away. I've got so many painted papers at the moment that I don't know what to do with them all. I need to, because I'm painting paintings, like some serious paintings at the moment. I just have all this leftover paint all the time, and so I just lay it down on lots of sheets. So this is the outer cover for my travel journal. Now this particular journal, I decided to do it a little bit smaller because I wanted it to be able to fit into a bag. So I've done it roughly, let's get my Tim Holtz ruler out. It's roughly 8.5 inches by 6.5 inches. And that's mainly because of the dimensions of the file photo, the pocket thing that I was converting into a thing. You can do this any size that you like. I've seen them done in like an A4 size, so it would be this width but almost twice as tall. I've seen them done in plastic pockets, which I find a little bit annoying. If you've got a ring binder with plastic pockets, you've got to pull the palette out all the time. This one here, I'm just showing you the first part to get it ready. So I've just glued these on with Mod Podge, used my security, like my scraper, to scrape it all over so it's nice and flat. Done the same on the inside as well, just gently scraped over it, and we have this hard kind of, it's now bendable, which is great because it then becomes a little bit pliable. So the next thing that I've got is my inserts. Now I've decided, I've done another one of these, and I'll show you the other one that I've done. I've done it for a friend of mine. So the same thing going on here, one of the prints. But this particular one, I've done the swatches and they're all small. And I'm sending this to a girlfriend of mine, and one of the reasons I did this is because I'm sending it overseas. So I need to put less pages in, but I've left grids here for her. And more colour swatches if she gets any more peerless watercolours. I will swatch those, or I'll let her swatch those herself when she gets them in the mail, and I've labelled them. Let me just zoom in and I'll show you. So you can see here that I've actually labelled down the side, and then the little swatch of colour to test what the colour will be done here on each side. And look, I haven't tried to be exact in my swatches. Some are thinner, some are not. I didn't end up measuring them that much because honestly I have such a big pad, you know, I have such big pads of these that I have plenty, and you know, I wanted to share with my friends. The other thing that I did for this girlfriend was I had cut the strips in half, and you notice that I've written on the back of all of the other bits a replacement, so it's a whole other set for her. That's the way that I'm working with this particular small one. In my one that I'm going to show you kind of how to make and my process for making it, I'm doing larger strips. But that's how you do one with smaller strips. So that will be posted overseas with that. So I'm using I measured the paper, and I wanted to have a nice big lip top and bottom for this because I don't want any of the swatches to kind of be, if you're using this as a travel thing, I think it's really good to have a good border around the inside palettes. The other thing that I might mention here is I am still looking for my acetate sheets. It is very wise to, whenever you're going to do one of these paint palettes, because the paint rubs off. And I don't know if you can see how dark my fingers here, but my fingers have been already washed, but they're dark from the pigments in these paints from making that original palette. So when you make them, just be aware that the pigment will rub off onto your finger. So let me just show you one of my fingers that's not as dark. And you can see that I've got this darker smudge here. So when you're handling these, the paint pigments do swatch off, and they are dyes rather than pigments. Peerless watercolors are dye based, not pigment based, so that's interesting. And their light fastness over time is not as assured as pigments. So that's interesting to note just for peerless watercolors. So I've made these swatches, and unlike my friend Gina's present that I'm sending her, I've done long ones because I've decided that I'm going to cut these long strips in and just have a long swatch going. And that one's probably a bit too long, so that's alright, I don't mind. Some of them they don't, you know, you don't kind of see the size. So I'll have a long thin swatch, and then the colour swatch will go down the side. But before I do any of that, I've labelled my, so if I come in, I'll show you. So I've labelled the names of all the swatches, and I've already made a basic colour palette. So before I attempted to do any of this, I made a colour palette. Now that colour palette was just basic so that I could see what the colours were. So this is the basic colour palette that I made. So I was able then to group basic, this is how they came out of the packets. So then I was able to group together all the yellows. So some of these yellows down here I was able to regroup with these yellows up here, and no two were the same. So I was able to group some of the browns with the other browns and so forth. So it was really good to do a preliminary little colour swatch to be able to group into colour families, which was pretty good. So I've already done that for the order here. So to now go further, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make a removable bond. So to remake the removable bond, I'm using Tombow mono liquid glue. Now I'm doing that so that it says here, for a removable bond, moderately apply glue. So don't glob it. I've made the mistake of globbing it and then it becomes too strong. Allow to completely dry, position your paper and remove and reposition as needed. So because I want to be able to replenish palettes that I use on these, that's really a good idea to do a removable bond. Now for that removable bond, I'm going to just do a thin squiggly line, And I'm not going to do it right at the top of the bottom. I'm just going to do it on the side all the way along. And I'm doing it squiggly because if you do one straight, will allow the piece of card to move and skew this way. If you do it squiggly, it has more teeth. And I'm not applying a very heavy coat of it. This stuff is my favourite tacky glue. But I'm telling you now, as it is extremely tacky. So well, there's been a little while past since I actually last showed you this, started filming this, and I had to wait until I found my acetate sheets. So I haven't quite finished the book yet, but I have been in a very busy part of my life, and when I worked on this, I just completely forgot to do the next stage of the video. So I'll do a flip through and show you where I'm at now. Okay, so since I last filmed, I have these acetate sheets. They are here to actually protect the wet paint palettes. And you can see a wet mark here from where I've done the colour swatch. Okay? Now I've done long palettes. I've used removable glue. So the removable glue, I can pull it off and I can pop it back on. Right? And stick it in, and it sticks in there quite well. Particularly when you compress them down. So what I then wanted, I really wanted to have a really good idea. The reason I did mine long was I really wanted to have a really good idea of what it would go from dark to light and the colour variation within the one swatch. And you really get to see it particularly on something like this mountain green. And I'll just zoom in so you can see what I mean. Okay, so you've got that colour variation and the you know, that beautiful sharp edge that you tend to get when you do the watercolor technique properly. That's the sort of thing that I'm looking for, because when you have a look at these palettes, you really want to be able to see accurately the color that you're using. And I know I've named them there. That's for my reference, so that when I actually go to replace it, I know. And so when I first started doing the swatches, I've done that side, but I didn't have the acetate in, so I had to let this side go, and I haven't done it yet. So today I'm actually going to show you just a little bit of how I sit down with a water brush and just do those swatches. So I've got some water in it. So for me, I'll just zoom it in a little bit and push this over so you can see. So I'm just going to get down the bottom, and I'm going to give a good thing of water and just take it all the way down so you can see the variegation from dark to light, all the way from the top to the bottom. So let's just have a look at that while it's wet. Okay, and that's going to dry with a nice sharp edge on the left, and it's going to show you the bleeding ability of this particular swatch. So I'm into the greens at the moment. And this is just to give you a really good idea of whether it's a warm green or a cool green, so that you can make your colour choices for any painting that you're doing. And some of these swatches don't even look like green. Some of the colours are far more vibrant, and I add more water in just to show. And they go a lot further. This chrome green deep, that's a much weaker pigment than this light green. So it's always good to test these out. And this particular palette, you know, I can pop into a handbag. It's not really small. Mauve. So we're going to mauve. What a pretty colour that is, but still not a particularly strong pigment. And when your aqua brush, just clean it off in between heliotrope. See how that looks almost like crystals? It's just the particular way the pigments work. Always want to not swatch it. Lovely vibrant colours. But see, you've got a red purple and a blue purple there in the amethyst. And so I'm just taking it from the bottom. When I actually go to paint, I probably won't do that. You can see some of the pigments just in this, and this is before I got the acetate, and I'm just going to zoom right in. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but there's some really fine turquoise from the other side, from the peacock blue pigments on here, and that's from where the two things rub together. Now that shows you exactly why you need to have acetate sheets, because the acetate sheets will stop that discoloration in and the rubbing together of these palettes. And I've already done the rose pink. There's the rose pink. Alright. So if I really wanted to now, I could just flip that across, right, the acetate sheet, and all of that's going to be protected. Now if you notice, some of those wet palette colours have gone onto the acetate sheet, so you need to be very mindful that when you're using these, yes, you can use them as a palette, but you need to wipe them off, and you need to give your peerless time to dry. So I need to go through and do the same on this side, but I've already done this side. And I've just used washi tape. So I just got some washi tape and taped it on both sides. So that's a nice firm bond. But by the same token, if I really want to take the sheets out because they get milky or scratched, or I want to replenish them or replace them, I definitely can do that. I've got one here as well. And if I get any more colours, they're there. But I doubt that I'll get, like there's only about 7 more colours that I want to get, so I know I don't need to do this back page. Alright, and so that's the final thing that I've done there. And with mine, so I know now that all these palettes are completely protected. And that's the final thing that you do. And then you can just use it at will. And it's all protected for you. So that's the end of the tutorial on the Peerless watercolor palette. I mean, as you would know, this is a bendy book. I actually sewed it, so I actually did a couple of holes in it and sewed it and sewed all those paper signatures together. I didn't sew through the acetate. I cut them to size every time. I actually wanted to cut them just that little bit bigger, just in case there was, so that there was a little bit of overhang. I also made sure that there was overhang, just rehashing overhang here, because I did not want any of those palettes coming into contact with stuff that come on either end, and so there's enough of a buffer there for page movement like this. And also, just in case, like you've got them in a travel bag or you've popped them into a pocket, you just don't want any kind of damage happening to your actual Peerless paint palettes. And you don't want those pages getting tatty. I'd far rather get the cover tatty. I can always take those, undo those signatures, take the pages out and redo the cover if I really need to. I'm hoping I've made it well enough here that I won't need to do that, but I don't need to worry about it per se. Okay, so if you want to make one and you've got any further questions, you can always leave a comment on this video. The other one that I did for Gina Aaron's had much smaller palettes in it. Mine's obviously much bigger. I decided, I've made hers half the size. She's got twice as many and less pages. I know she's got a travel bag, and I know she stuffs it full of a lot of different paints and things. So I wanted to make hers very thin, very accessible for quick, easy pickup of her canvas bag, her canvas travel artist bag. So it was a little bit different to this one. With mine, I just wanted to have the full strip, so I could just chop a whole strip off a Peerless watercolor swatch and then, you know, stick it right in. And so they're not perfect in their widths because I'm not exact in any of the things that I cut, Um, so you're seeing a little bit of the Peter Thompson randomness coming out there. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, learn something new today. It keeps you young.